Yay, we're here. Okay. So, Hillman Talk week 1. It's class 3, part 2. We're talking about parts work today. And what I really want you to take away from today is that we can be compassionate with ourselves and with our parts in order to move forward in our life, right? In order to understand trauma in a different way, in a more holistic way. And to do that, we really need to tap into all of the different parts of ourself because we often feel so many different things at one time. And that is what can make the entire process of healing um, complicated, right? And kind of messy and really just not linear. And so we're going to talk about a gentle approach to parts work and self compassion. So to start, let's just ground for a moment. Feel free to keep your eyes open. Do what feels good for you. If you want to close them or lower your gaze, you certainly can. Be comfortable, get comfortable. If you're not in a place to close your eyes, also totally okay. It's all perfect. Just notice what's here for you in this moment. You might be rushing from a different part of your day. You might be still waking up. You might be feeling tired and ready to go to bed, depending on what part of the world you're in. No matter what you're arriving here with, it's perfect. Just take a breath, breathe normally, and allow yourself just to catch up with yourself and land in this place right here and right now. Knowing that all parts are welcome, all parts are always welcome, even if there are parts of you that feel tired, aggravated, unhappy, scared, right? Frightened, antsy, jittery, not well, super happy, bouncing off the walls, trying to make it. Whatever you're present with is perfect. And there's room for all of it here. And the more that you can invite the allness, the wholeness of you, the two things being true at the same time. I might be up, I might be down, all at the same time. The more that you can welcome that into your presence, the more that you can allow it, the more that you're going to nurture your system, your nervous system, into accepting that all parts of you can be here and be grounded and be present without needing to um, exclude any other part for any other reason. Okay. So we are here. Let's set the intention for today that we're going to meet our part with curiosity and with kindness. And we're going to meet ourselves with curiosity and with kindness for today. So as you begin to just bring yourself back into now, you might wiggle your hands, fingers, and toes if you feel like you want to just drop back into now. You can orient, notice what you see around you. Maybe it is the paint on your wall, it might be your device. Just ground into being back all right here, right now. And as we transition into the first part of our workshop today, when we think about trauma, if you see me looking in two different places, I'm using two different devices, just bear with me. Trauma can create these different parts of ourselves that hold different emotion, different experiences, and different survival strategies or defense mechanisms. Now, what does this mean? It simply means trauma is not necessarily what happens, like the event that happens, the too much, too soon, too fast, wasn't prepared. This was like a crime against humanity kind of thing. Trauma is not just the thing that happens, it's how your body internalizes the experience, and it's what is happening within you, right? Um, During trauma and after. And so oftentimes parts get created in our psyche as a defense mechanism, as a survival strategy to help our nervous system to cope with whatever trauma has happened. These parts develop to protect us, to protect our minds, our bodies, our psyches from simply falling apart, going offline, like us totally having a complete and utter breakdown, right? And so when these parts develop, they have good intent. Parts always have good intent, even if they are misguided in their actions, in their approaches. And so think about yourself as a team, sports team, dance team, or maybe a family, right? You can do this with animals too, like an animal family. We have mama duck and baby ducks, um, or geese, or birds, or fish. Each part has a role. So the mama duck is the adult, let's say. The baby ducks, each one plays a role. Some are loud, some are anxious, some are terrified, some are critical, some are very quiet, some are quite wounded um, and hidden, and maybe some of the other baby ducks, right, protect the small wounded baby duck that they feel can't protect itself. So these other, let's say, sibling ducks help manage and protect this wounded, maybe runt of the group that maybe was badly hurt or badly injured. And so, as this system, this family, this team all work together, they all can be fighting for control over your nervous system. So think about it like this: you're a bus driver on a school bus, and in every seat, there are all of these kids, right, or animals. The bus driver needs to be the adult, but often the parts, the kids or the baby ducks um, in the bus, on the bus, right, in the seats, they are fighting for control over driving the bus. And when the adult is not in the adult seat, when the adult is not in the driver's seat of the bus, there tends to be mayhem, right? There tends to be chaos. The perfectionist part often can push, 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 drive, drive, drive. The avoidant part um, may be so avoidant that things are falling apart in your life or in your business, and you can't seem to get all of the ducks literally in a row working together. When this is happening, um, there's chaos. And we often think, why can't I get it together? Why can't I do what I know I need to do? Why am I having such a hard time coping or managing my time, my energy, my money, my resources, um, just myself, right? And when we're in this thought pattern, right? When we're feeling stuck, when we know there are things that are stuck that are not working, we want them to be working. We might be trying to make them work. We might be investing in coaches or therapists or programs and groups and PDFs and different supplements and meds and all the things, right? All of the things to help us perform at our best, to show up at our best. And we still very much might feel like we're on the struggle bus. Oftentimes, these are when we have parts that are really feeling unsafe. They're feeling ill equipped to deal with whatever we're facing. And the important thing to remember also about parts is that parts tend to usually be 13 and under. The age of the part tends to be around 13 or younger. Sometimes people feel like they do have older parts, and that's fine. But typically, the parts are always going to be significantly younger than you are now. And they're going to not understand that time has passed. Oftentimes, I say to my clients that I support with healing and resolving trauma, usually complex trauma, right? We are so powerful as humans, as cycle breakers, that we grow up and we get resources, we get information, we find support, and we go back in time into our childhood and we save our own child selves and we help them to either be released back to spirit, back to nature, back to this magical place where they can be free and have the childhood, metaphorically speaking, that we didn't get to have, or we can help them to transcend and leave those old scenes of our past and integrate back into the whole of us as adults, right? And so these different like soul retrieval processes can be done to help support the integration, the healing, and the transformation. And in doing that work, we typically bump up against resistance. So, what I want you to take away from today is that when you feel like multiple things are happening at the same time, you're right. We are healing, we're growing, we're transcending, all while we're trying to make sense of and sort through the past. The thing about trauma is that it doesn't communicate always like in words. Trauma communicates in symptoms. And so when we feel different symptoms, when we have different bodily experiences or sensations, even when we're feeling triggered by a sound, a smell, the tone of someone's voice, like feeling like there isn't enough time or isn't enough money. There can be these hot ticket like triggers. Lack is often one, scarcity, depletion, exhaustion tends to be a big trigger for people. These triggers come up and it activates these different parts of us that are still unintegrated, unresolved. They're still very much isolated. And it's almost as though we're having two parallel experiences, our today's self experience and our past trauma experience, right? Happening co-occurring at the same time, in some ways like these dual realities. And so much of healing can consist of collapsing these various realities, right? And integrating into one. And so when you think about a part of yourself that maybe you struggle with, and I invite you to pick a part that doesn't feel like a 10. So from 1 to 10, 10 being no reaction, or 10 being the biggest reaction, and 1 being no reaction. Only pick something that's between like a 1 and a 5, right? Don't go above 5 for this exercise. Pick a symptom, a reaction, a trigger, even a part of yourself that maybe you wish were different, or you've been trying to work on shifting it in some way. Maybe it's wanting to get up earlier. Maybe it's wanting to feel more confident in what you're doing with work or your career or your business. Maybe it's being less reactive. So if this is the part that you're choosing to work with, just notice whatever you're feeling when you think about this part of yourself. For many of us, right, who had trauma at an early age, procrastination is a big trauma response, and perfectionism. So let's say we use one of those and we are tapping into how we feel when we even think about this perfectionist part. Just feel into what's coming up. What do you notice about this part? Can you see it? How old does it feel? Trust what comes up. Is the part in your past in some way? And you might just notice the energy of the part. You may not see where it is. That's totally fine. Think about how the part is feeling. Is it anxious? Is it scared? It might be numb or upset. Anything is welcome. Anything the part's feeling is welcome. Even if you're not feeling the part necessarily, also perfect. Sometimes we have to do exercises like this multiple times to kind of tune in to our inner world, our inner landscape. As we bring in curiosity, let's ask the part, even just thanking it for being present, for stepping forward and allowing us to just spend some time with it today. Is there anything that the part wants to tell you? Is there anything that the part wants to share with you about anything? Trust what comes up. It might feel like, this is crazy. Am I crazy? These are all natural thoughts to have. You're not. This is your nervous system speaking, communicating with you. Ask the part, what is it most needing you to know? Just in general. What are you needing me to know? What can be helpful to think about is like if you were sitting on a park bench with this dear friend. Maybe you hadn't talked in a long time, years and years and years, and you're simply being in each other's presence, and you're allowing this part of yourself to simply share with you. There's no judgment on what is shared. All of it is safe here. What's the part needing you to know about this habit or about this stuck point? What's the part trying to protect you from? Trust what comes up. Sometimes moving your body helps just to get the energy flowing. There's no need to force anything, and there's no need to feel like you're doing it wrong. There's no wrong or right, there just is. As you set with this part of yourself that's showing up through this behavior or this symptom or this habit, maybe that you don't love, is there any way that you can notice what the part represents for you? Does the part represent fear? Does it represent feeling confused or lost? What's this part represent for you? Oftentimes, my perfectionist part represents the child part of me that needed everything to be right, that needed everything to be a certain way so that my parent wouldn't be upset or wouldn't have more things to worry about, right? This perfectionist part really was trying to protect me from pain, from heartache, from upset, from, these emotional, just outrage moments with adults in my life, right? So though I don't like the habit of perfectionism, when I'm able to tap into the energy of the part, I'm able to see that the intention is good. The intention is about protecting me from disappointment, from feeling embarrassed, from feeling humiliated, from feeling like I'm doing it wrong, from feeling unsupported or rejected, right? The part is just trying to help me not feel any of those negative emotions. What the part does not realize is that in the perfectionism, what I want to do doesn't get done, and then I still feel negative emotion. So the challenge with coping with our parts is that the same coping that we experienced in childhood. So these defenses, these reactions, these approaches helped us in childhood. They helped us to stay safe. They helped us to stay out of the way, or, entertaining everybody, making everybody laugh, like navigating, walking on eggshells. This part became this chameleon that could mold into whatever we needed it to keep us safe emotionally, physically, mentally, whatever way. And when we cross over into adulthood, that same way of coping typically starts to become less effective. And even if it is working still to protect us, it begins it begins to cause a flip side of negative emotion or reaction. So if the perfectionism is keeping me safe, trying to walk on eggshells to please this adult person in my life, when I take that into my adult life, right, at work or a job or with a partner, that same walking on eggshells approach is going to also cause people pleasing, shrinking, avoiding my own needs, right? To support other people and their needs first. It's going to cause burnout. It's going to cause not getting what I want or need to get done, which is going to cause shame, rejection, feeling as though I can't trust myself and that others can't trust, right, what I say if I'm not following through on it. And so the intention is good and noble, the effect becomes problematic. And the parts want to support us most above all else. The part wants to keep us safe. But parts believe that keeping us safe, small, unseen, unheard, um, not powerful, not forward facing, that's what the parts feel is safe. So anytime that you are wanting or actually going against that. So if you're wanting something different or you're going against that paradigm, the part is going to rage quit, right? It's going to crash out because it thinks if it's not this script, small, safe, shrinking, no, don't bring attention to us, don't risk it, don't go all out, stay safe, small, and hidden. If it's going against that, it feels like that's a threat. And so it's going to try and cancel that mission at all cost. So when we ask it, what are you trying to protect me from? We're listening for whatever the part wants to share, whether it's in words, whether it's in feeling. You might feel shame or anxious or just sadness, right? Sometimes it's going to communicate in feeling and sensation. There are times where it's going to communicate like in a past memory. So you might have a flashback of like a parent or sibling just being critical of you, or, um, you know, saying mean things to you. That's also how it can communicate. And it's always important to offer so much gratitude and validation for whatever the part shares with you. Even if you don't feel it shared anything at all, that's also perfect. It's fine. Parts need time to share, especially if you haven't done this kind of inner work before. Um, it can take a moment for your system to like understand, oh, this person is coming to me to talk to me, to get to know me, to listen. This hasn't happened before. I need to make sure this is like a safe thing. And so if you've done more of the inner work, the sensations, the answers, the connection might come a little more easily, which is fine. But even if you haven't done this kind of work for yourself before, um, you can build the muscle and you can build the trust, and the resiliency within your nervous system for it to communicate with you. So much of healing is going within, learning how to communicate with our own nervous system, with our own inner self, highest self, right? in order to promote healing. The body knows what it needs to do to heal itself. The mind knows what it needs to do to heal itself. If we can give it what it needs to do that, which is often acceptance, acknowledgement, support, encouragement, validation, and turning towards whatever is up. Turning towards meaning if I have complex emotion up today, turning toward it versus numbing it, suppressing it, dumbing it down, right? It doesn't always mean that we're cheerleading because we're having a bad day. Yay, it's a bad day. No. But it can mean I'm going to accept whatever is here. If it's here, there's something in it for me. If I can listen today, I will listen. If I can't, that's okay. I can still acknowledge there's a lot going on for me. I am going to make some time this day, this week to sit with myself and just feel into what is going on underneath the surface. Underneath this emotion, there's information that's wanting to be shared with me. Let me make time to be with myself. If you find that to be challenging, it's okay. You can build your way up to doing this inner work over time. And it can be as easy as starting to notice when you begin to feel the parts. So maybe a part of you wants to get up and a part of you wants to sleep in. A part of you wants to do the thing. The other part of you doesn't want to. So it goes into avoidance or procrastination. Even just noticing the pattern or the symptom or the sensation. I feel this like gnawing, pain in my stomach. My head feels like it's hurting. I have this pain in my side when I think about doing this thing. Even when we can just be curious about what's coming up for us, it will give us good information to lean into. Where am I feeling this part in my body? What's it trying to communicate to me? Maybe I don't want to go do the thing. Maybe I feel scared to do it. What if I mess up? It's communicating something to you. And the more that you can be with it and attune to these parts, the more the parts will trust you and the more that they will just tell you what's up, right? My parts and I are often we're like old friends, right? They will tell me about myself. They don't hold back. They're very much into you didn't do it. You didn't do it. We don't like that. You said you were going to, you didn't. What's the problem? They are very feisty, but they also can be timid and shy. They can be any kind of way, and any kind of way is okay, as long as it's not causing, right, harm to yourself or someone else. That's when we have to use a little bit more structure and boundaries around containing so that we are decreasing harm that's caused, right? And we will get into that more. But for today, I want you to trust that the protective parts, all of the parts, hold a wisdom. And if you can learn to work with yourself versus against yourself, you're going to heal. It's going to be an easier process. It's going to feel less arduous if you can learn to work with yourself versus against yourself. All of the parts of you want what's best for you, even if they're going about it in a way that feels counterintuitive, that feels counterproductive, that feels dumb or the long way around, right? Even if it feels like this is a waste of time or a cluster, the true essence of all parts is wanting to work with you, even if they're going about it in ways that are harmful or disaster producing, right? That they mean well. And what I often say, and I believe, there's a reason why we don't let little kids drive, right? Vehicles, Mack trucks. They can't drive, right? It isn't that they won't ever be able to, but they can't right now. It's not legal. It's not safe for them or for someone else. So when parts are in the driver's seat of our lives, often they mean well, but they are not equipped to handle, right, an adult life because they're not adults. But often our younger parts have been in the driver's seat of our life, of our relationships, of our money for a long time, and shifting control back to you, the adult, while acknowledging um, the wisdom and the good intent that the part has can take a little bit of nuance, but it can be done. It can be done, and it's transformative in how you relate to yourself, in how you show up in your life, in the results that you're getting, in how you even see yourself, right? Parts work can be very transformative with transforming your own self concept, worth, value, all of the things, literally. And what I want you to take away also from today is that you have what you need within you to heal, to shift, to transform all of the things. The work really is tuning in to your own system with support, whether it's um, a trained therapist or trauma informed coach, whether it's with um, a friend that you share, right? Like, I'm going to just share something maybe that I journaled or that I am thinking. Do you have space to hold space for me in this moment, right? Journaling itself can be helpful. There has to be some kind of witnessing, even if it's between you and your higher power, you and spirit. But typically, we are wounded in relationship, and in relationship is where we heal. But the right relationships, supportive relationships, that could look like a 12-step meeting. It could look like a support group that's tailored toward what you're needing or wanting to work through. There are lots of like business groups that can be supportive. My partner and I have an accountability mastermind for um, women in business, for solopreneurs, entrepreneurs who are typically neurodivergent, so ADHD, PTSD, even some autistic folks can benefit from a neurodivergent friendly environment where we're not working with um, frameworks that were really meant for neurotypical people, right? When we know that we've had trauma, it can be transformative to find communities and circles that understand trauma, that can support you in whatever your goal is. If it's healing, if it's business, if it's just increased emotional intelligence and emotional mastery, whatever it is, being in some kind of community that is supportive and like-minded helps the process, helps it feel less overwhelming, helps you move through it in a more sustainable way. And it can help you to practice really these skills in real time with yourself and with other people. So often the work requires us to be in the arena of life, doing the skills, practicing the skills, learning them, seeing what works and what doesn't, spending time with our parts, reporting back how that went with someone who cares. And so, certainly, if you're dealing with um, moderate to significant trauma, working with a trained professional is always going to be best. And I understand that sometimes it's not accessible. But what can be important is to know that there are resources that can support with that. I will link some as well. The One of the most important things to take away is that you are capable of creating the healing that you desire. You can heal yourself and you can find the right support to help you in that. And that's what this course is about in a lot of ways. And so we will be back tomorrow with more. We're going to drop the link wherever you see this video so that you can opt in to get the replays and the recaps. And what was I going to say? I would love to know what you're taking away from today. if your part communicated with you, or if you were just blown away by the conversation or just feeling into your own nervous system, I would love to hear about that, so I can celebrate you in that step. If you've experienced this before and maybe you went a bit deeper this time, I'd love to hear about that. If you feel like this is next level and it might be like not your cup of tea, also perfect. You can also share that. Um, but I would love to know if you have been inspired to do more work with your parts, to communicate more with your nervous system, and to continue in this program as we work through practical ways to heal trauma and practical ways to transform stress in our bodies, in our nervous systems, so that we can live our best lives, because Lord knows you deserve to. And the world needs us all to be doing our best and contributing to the healing of the planet. That is that for that. I love you so much. I'll be back tomorrow. I will see you soon. Thank you for being here.